All right, good morning, class. I think I'm going to go ahead and give you a little quick pre-recorded video here to start our week. Remember, this week is week 5. Last week, during the grading checkpoint, our first grading checkpoint, all your grades for pretty much any class that you're taking for Coastal Pines was sent to the college, or if you are a dual enrollment student, your grades went to the college and your high school coordinator at the end of last week. So usually you will get some information from either the college, from your high school coordinator, maybe from your advisor. It could come from email, it could come from snail mail, it could come from a phone call, a text, a little bit of all of the above. And usually the only reason why you're going to be getting those messages, probably starting this week, is if you have missed really, close to 3 or more days, which is like 10% of the class period outlined in the syllabus we talked about week 1, or if your grade is basically D or lower at this point. So the next checkpoint, which would be the second one, will go out the week of midterms, and we'll talk a little bit about that. That's about 3 weeks away from now during week 8. And then I believe the final one becomes your final grade, which would be that week of the final exam, when you would get that one. So really the first two are sort of like that wake-up call. If you're not doing well in this class or any of your other classes, hey, you basically have up until midterm, which is again the second week of October, to get your grades, to get your attendance, to get everything back in order. Otherwise, you really have until, I believe the date is the 27th of October to officially withdraw without any academic penalty. So what that means is when you get that weekly, that second week, or that second week of October, when you get that second checkpoint, which is probably going to go on like the 15th of October, you basically have about a week and a half to really dig deep and do a little bit of soul searching and saying, hey, can I pull my grade up, whatever it is, to a passing grade C or higher by the 27th of October, but also can I pull it up, keep it up for the remaining of November and the first 2 weeks of December. If you come to the conclusion that you can't, meaning you're at a, I have a few folks in my other classes right now that are sitting at a 5, out of 20, out of 45. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to pull up your grade if you got a 5 in the class, or if you got a 25 in the class, even if you got a 50 in the class and are not doing so well heading forward, I can't guarantee that you're going to pass the class. So that doesn't really refer to or involve everybody in this particular class, but just keep in mind the grade checkpoints are there for a reason. After the 27th of October, though, whatever your grade is, I mean, that's going to be your grade heading into really about the last 6 weeks or so of school. So just keep that in mind. And you can withdraw after the 27th, but let's say that you withdraw on November 5th. For whatever reason you want to withdraw November 5th. Well, you can do that, but now your grade's going to be WF, which is withdraw and failing. And if you get grants, if you get HOPE or Pell, any of those financial aid monies that you were getting this semester or last semester or during the spring semester, chances are, because you withdrew and fell after the withdrawal date, and if you did that to your other classes too, chances are you're probably not going to get any financial aid money starting in January, because you waited until the week after you should have went ahead and withdrew properly from your courses. I'm hoping nobody has to do that, because again, like I said, I think in previous videos, it's just going to put you back at least one semester or more, depending on how many classes you have withdrew already, before you can graduate. So you don't want to turn your 2-year plan into a 7-year plan. And that usually what happens is, when you start dropping a lot of courses, if you're not going in the summer, that type deal. So if you want to sort of stay on track, the best thing to do is do the right thing, pass all your classes the first time around, so you don't have to come back and take English, 15 weeks before you graduate, or take that math class 15 weeks before you graduate. So just keep that in mind. We're going to look at week 5. Just sort of going to briefly go through it. Wednesday, right? I'm going to send out some more Teams meetings. I know some of y'all with y'all's schedule and all can't really make the 3 to 4 o'clock meetings, but it would be helpful, especially if you're having questions or if your grade is not doing where it needs to do at this point, to try to make as many of these team meetings as you can. They're not mandatory, obviously, meaning I can't force everybody to come who can't. But if you're having questions and you're not emailing me or you're not getting the help from somebody somewhere, then chances are your grade's going to continue to tank between now and week 8. Because we're getting into some of the stuff that's not going to be the easiest stuff in the world. Some of it's going to be time consuming to some degree, especially if you got other things going on. You can't wait to Saturday or Friday or Sunday to do a lot of this stuff. And I'm seeing that with a lot of these blogs. They're waiting 6, 12, sometimes a day before they're due, and you're not really getting everything you need into them to get that grade because you're waiting or you're stressing out to the last minute, but you're not asking questions or not attending these meetings. So please, if you need help, you need to email me. You need to attend these meetings. You need to reach out. I can do a lot, between now and a Sunday, let's say. It's hard for me to be Superman when something's due in 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday evening. So if you have questions, you need to let me know ahead of time instead of, surprising me, I don't really understand how to do this blog, or I can't do SA2. And here it is. You've known that you had SA2 for the last 2.5 weeks. It's due this Sunday. And then you want to, bombard emails, 4 hours before it's due. There's not much I can do in those 4 hours. You should have talked to me 2 weeks ago. So just keep that in mind. So if you look here at the screen, I think we talked about this last time. I just want to reiterate here. The finals week, because we're in an online situation, we're in an online English course. And this really goes with anything else that you're taking online too. The week of the finals, which is going to be like that second week of December or so, you need to have a ProctorU account created. You need to have a ProctorU created for any of your other online classes too. Usually once you create one account, that's it. You don't have to create multiple ones, but you need to have a ProctorU account to be able to complete the final in this course. If you don't have a ProctorU account, you're not going to be able to take the final, and your grade on the final is going to be a 0 because you didn't turn anything in. We do have a little bit of time for that, but I will say before we go to Thanksgiving break, which is that 3rd or 4th week in November, I would go ahead and have this ProctorU account created, if not for this class, for your other classes. So when you do come back after the break and when you're turning in research paper and stuff, you're not having to worry about creating a ProctorU account. They are free. Just follow this instructions that are up here on the hyperlink. If you go back to your main Blackboard page and scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's some information down there about Blackboard or about ProctorU. But again, you have to have an account to be able to take the final in this class or any other online course that you have. So if you don't have an account, then you're not going to be able to take the final here or anywhere else if your class is online strictly. So remember that, because I don't want anybody to get a 0 because they didn't create a free account. The other thing is week 5, you click here. And if you look, the grammar quiz 2, right? If you did the grammar practice last week, you got credit on it. I graded it as it was if that was your actual quiz. If you turned something in, I went back later that week and gave you 100% on it. Even though I put the initial grade first, right? If you got 3 or 4 of them wrong, I wanted that to be sort of a motivating tool to say, well, darn, I really need to study the grammar from last week and read this stuff in the textbook from last week that relates to grammar. And possibly this week, as you can tell, with articles in English, grammar, punctuation, and capitalization rules, which I give you page numbers here again, basically starting in your e-text, pages 235 through 257, you really need to look at for possibly the grammar quiz 2 coming up or grammar quiz 3 coming up here in another week or so. So make sure that you're reading the e-text stuff and you're looking at these handouts, because all this stuff is fair game and it should be helpful when it comes to these quizzes. So this quiz is due this Friday, right, by 11:59. So again, just like quiz one, you download it, you answer it on the actual quiz paper, highlight the answer portion of your the one that you want me to look at and grade, save it, and upload it before the Friday deadline. Again, midnight Saturday or midnight after, after this deadline expires, it's going to become a zero, right? We got to move on. We can't sit here and wait for folks to turn work in when you had 6-7 days to do it, right? It's 10 questions. It shouldn't take you the full 7 days to do. Most of the students that I've had take this class in class this semester usually takes about 30 minutes or less. So if you looked at the sample guide or the study guide last week and really went back and started reading some of the stuff in the e-text, you should be able to take, 20, 30 minutes and be done with this quiz and just go ahead and submit it. The earlier you submit it, the faster I can grade it. The Dropbox, again, for Essay 2. This Sunday, 11:59. Again, you click on it just like you did Essay 1. You upload your essay. If you haven't started submitting drafts for Essay 2 to me or Smart Thinking, the last time I can look at drafts will be by midnight this Friday. So anything that you send on Saturday or Sunday, I would just recommend trying to submit it to Smart Thinking, because by then I'm going to go ahead and start grading those that have already came in earlier, not only for this class, but my other classes as well. So if you want me to look at your drafts and give you feedback, definitely send something before midnight this Friday. Smart Thinking, I would say probably the same, because again, depending on how busy they are, it may take them a full day to get something back. So I would say if you haven't submitted by Saturday to Smart Thinking, then I wouldn't even try to risk it unless you just think they're going to be able to get to you. Because, you don't want to submit at 10 o'clock Saturday night to Smart Thinking, and it's, full 24 hours later, 10 o'clock on Sunday. Well, the paper is going to be due less than 2 hours. Are you going to be able to make all those changes that Smart Thinking has recommended to that 3 to 5 page paper and upload it before the 11:59 deadline? Some people can. A lot of folks, I wouldn't risk it, especially because this particular paper is worth a little bit more of your overall grade. So a 0 or a really low grade on this paper is going to have a negative impact on your grade heading forward. And it's something that you don't want to necessarily play with. Otherwise, again, read the stuff in your textbook. I would probably read the stuff in your textbook first, and then if you have, additional information about articles, definite articles, indefinite articles, using a, and, or the, then I would go back to look at this handout. That's only about, 5 pages or so. There's a little bit of some examples here that will be helpful. There's some exercises that you can try, on your own with the answers on, below, and it gives you sort of explanation about why the answer is what it is. That could be a really good study, technique to use as it relates to the upcoming quiz. Most folks don't have that many issues with articles and English grammar, but it's there just in case you need a little bit of a refresher. Where people have a lot of issues is with the periods, with the commas, with the capitalization. So again, what I would do is read the stuff in your book first, and then come back and use this handout as sort of a, reinforcement, as a enhancement to look at. And again, on Wednesday, for those that do show up, we could talk a little bit more in detail about some of this grammar stuff. I don't want to go too much in the weeds now, because some of y'all already know how to use a colon or a semicolon or a period really well. And then some of y'all, you know who you are based on your Essay 1 grades, may not. And this may be what's, this and the page numbers in the book may be really directed to you. Capitalization, right? Remember capitalization rules. As you can tell, there's many of them here. So if you don't know your 14 rules of capitalization, I would go back and review this. If you don't know how to use an apostrophe, there's 3 major rules. Go back and review this. Parentheses, there's really 1 or 2 couple rules there. Hyphens, some of y'all are having issues using hyphens. There's 5 rules. I would go back and look at this. Quotation marks, this is going to be more of an issue when we get into the research paper at this point. I know some of y'all who added dialogue with essay 1 may need to go back and sort of look at this, but at this point, it's really looking at, we're going to be looking at this more or less with the research paper, starting in November. Italics, the same thing. The dash, again, if you overuse sort of the hyphen, you might want to go back and look and see what the difference between the dash and the hyphen is, so you're not making that mistake. Colon, semicolon, commas usually is where most folks are having some issues. Remember, that was really our first part of our first grammar quiz when it deals with the comma splice and stuff. But as you can tell, there's nearly 20 comma rules. So you might want to go back, maybe look at your essay 1 to see what types of comma issues you are having, and then sort of come back and look at these rules to see which one is really applied. Because if you don't have that addressed, when you start sending essay 2 drafts and final drafts in this coming week, chances are you're going to lose the same amount of points as you did on essay 1 because you're not fixing your errors. You're not practicing the comma stuff as you should. And of course, most folks know how to use periods. But again, if you don't, there's 4 different rules here that you really want to sort of focus on. So again, as it comes back to the grammar stuff, we will look at this in a little bit more detail Wednesday afternoon. If there's any, anybody has any burning questions to do, to deal with that. I'm just going to assume that if nobody emails me, or if you don't show up and speak up on Wednesday where you're having issues, I'm going to think y'all know what y'all are doing. So I can't read minds. Never said I could. So it's going to just be easier for everybody. That's why I'm here. If you let me know where you're starting to struggle, and kind of do so in a timely manner, not when, before something is due a couple hours before the due date drops or disappears. The other thing is that we'll probably spend a little bit more time on is this model essay 2. So the only thing that's really missing here, and I think it's because the pictures were a little bit too big, but I'm going to show you on Wednesday how you should have your ad on your actual essay, because you need to have that. But if you look at this person did a particular painting as their visual analysis, and you can do a painting if you want as well. But notice it's 3 pages, right? Yours needs to be 3 to 5 pages. So again, the other thing that needs to be up here would be the last name and the page number. But for the most part, this is how yours would look like. And if you look, right, it has to be 3. If you're going 3 pages, look how many paragraphs this person has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So at least, 7 or more paragraphs you need for this paper to be the length that you need. If you have less than 7 paragraphs, chances are you got less than 3 pages. So you're going to be losing points if you don't have enough words or if you don't have enough pages, right? The assignment says 3 to 5, or it says that particular word count, right? If you find yourself going 6, 7, 8 pages, you need to go back and cut, because when I really say 3 to 5 pages, I really mean 3 to 5 pages. So if you get to the end of page 3, just like that model example shows, and you basically answered and said everything you needed to say about your ad, then stop. There's no need to, continue to go to page 4 or 5 unless you just need to. The other thing is that you probably, I hope, should have downloaded or saved, goes back to week 4, was the structure, right? The structure of your visual analysis. This is sort of the whole deal. This is your template. If you follow this, right, you have an introduction. Your very last sentence of that introduction is going to be your thesis statement, basically the main idea of your paper. The next paragraph needs to be a brief description of the ad, right? And then you want to talk about your target audience and the publication in which the ad appears. And then you have your rhetorical appeals: logos paragraph, pathos paragraph, ethos paragraph, and conclusion. So that would give you the 7 paragraphs you needed. If you have 7 paragraphs or more, chances are you're past 3 pages. So you might want to go back. If you can't get 7 paragraphs or you can't get 3 or more pages, then you probably want to take between now and really the end of the week to find a different ad, right? Or if you need to look at multiple ads, right, 1 or 2 ads to sort of help you get the paper link, make sure that you pick ads that have similar themes and similar meanings. Meaning, don't pick a Burger King ad and then pick a I don't know, a Nike ad unless they're connected somehow, because otherwise you're just giving me 2 different ads, which really should be 2 different papers. So don't try that, because otherwise it's just going to be confusing to your reader, going to be confusing to you. It's going to take more time, and it's really probably going to produce a longer paper than you need. So again, if you have stuff that you've already started with, rough drafting, I need to see that before this Friday. Granted, I am trying to keep up with other grades and other classes, so the earlier the better, because if you wait until the end of the week, chances are, if you get it before Friday, I will look at it, but the later in the week, because I got other papers coming in, I'm trying to keep grades up, it may be sort of toward the end that I really look at some stuff, right? So earlier in the week would be better if you can get it. Again, I would utilize smart thinking at the same time. So if smart thinking gets it before I do, at least somebody looked at it, right? And then you can sort of shift and send that way and vice versa. As long as somebody is looking at it, and I would say multiple eyes, right? Not my eyes only, but smart thinking, somebody in the class, maybe if you have a friend in the class, somebody outside of class that knows how to write papers, that type deal. So again, the more folks that look at your paper, the better the paper should be overall. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Again, there's not really a whole lot. A lot of it's just reading and for you to actually get started drafting. Most of everybody that did the blog 5 that submitted it last week did really well on it. So check your grade on that. If you did not submit blog 5, then obviously you got the 0. So please keep up with due dates. We have to move forward. We can't move back. So if you're collecting a lot of zeros, then we need to talk, because your grade is probably dropping really, really fast. And, it might just be a little bit more time management. Maybe on your end, it could be to the point where if your grade is really low, right, that the best ability for you to do at this point would be to possibly withdraw the class and take it again in the spring, because this class, like math, like psychology, like a lot of these other core classes, are offered yearly. So if you think that there's a lot of stuff going on in your life that by stepping away from one particular course or 2 particular courses would be beneficial, just keep in mind you're going to have to take it again before you graduate, but at least you won't be failing maybe the next time you take it. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, email me, reach out. We can talk about things, see what we can do. It's a lot easier to discuss stuff before problems happen or they're ongoing and occurring, and kind of hard to do anything by that point. If you've already missing 4 or 5 weeks worth of work, chances are, you're not going to be able to make all that stuff up and the new stuff within a week or 2. There's just no way at this point, without causing you a lot of stress in the process, which nobody really needs, right? But anyway, look out for the team invite. It'll probably be about the same time that we usually have it, Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 4. If you can make it, great. If not, there will be a video for it. Otherwise, just continue to finish up the quiz 2 for this Friday, and finish up your essay 2 final drafts for this Sunday. Next week, week 6, we will talk about essay 3, which would be more of a compare and contrast. Have a good week if I don't see you on Wednesday. And again, like I said, email me if you have questions. Thanks.